Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Influencers Project. I'm your host, Craig Reynolds, and with me today is a rider who has seen the highs in a variety of categories, from BMX to mountain bikes, and to this day, road bike racing. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who probably doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway because some people may not have ever seen him race before. A man who was the very first person to ever go from an ABA National #1 amateur title and backed it up with a pro title the very next year. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mikey King. Mike, what's going on?
All is good, Craig. It's good to hear from you, buddy.
So I know we live about 40 minutes away, 35 minutes away from each other. We probably talk once every 2 months. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Maybe 30 or 40 minutes away. So, Mike, your amateur career was one of the most dominant amateur careers of all time. You won everything, amateur titles, you won world titles, and then you turned pro and did more of the same, which is outstanding, right? I think a lot of people would kill to have a portion of the career that you had. And a lot of people looked up to you coming up through the ranks. Give me a little background about how you got started and who were some of the people that you looked up to when you were coming through.
Well, I was fortunate to have an older brother, right? Everyone knows my brother, Eddie. He's 5 years older. And, he was pretty rough on me. And I think that's what sparked a lot of my determination and drive. Because, I really wanted to, put it to him, whether it was on a bike or playing one-on-one basketball, or you name it. That was my competitive spirit. So, and of course, as a child, I looked up to my brother, and whatever he chose to do, I wanted to do, and of course, I wanted to do it better. So, but yeah, it all started in 1974, I think, the day before my 6th birthday, and raced, until I was probably 12 or 13, then got a little burned out, started playing Pop Warner football and just doing some other things. And then I got back into it a year later. And that's when things really started to pick up. I think, as a young adolescent, at that age from 10 to 13, 14, sometimes you get some guys that go through puberty a little faster, and they got mustaches when they're 13. Bike, and I see a lot of kids through BMX now here at the track that, that's okay. It's, it'll come around. And sure enough, when I was 14, I grew a little bit, and I started doing more push-ups and just keeping a really good eye on what my brother was doing. And then, just had some success, got picked up by Huffy, and initially Redline, and then Huffy gave me a better offer. And I'm like rooming with Stu Thompson, and the whole thing was like, wow, this is living the dream at 14 and traveling, all over the country, not in a motorhome, but like on commercial airplanes. So yeah, but I looked up to my brother. I looked up to Stu Bob. He was the man. Harry Larry. God, the mid to late 80s, it was, it was awesome. I mean, multiple, maybe even, I don't know, 3, 4 pros on a team. I mean, they were legitimate teams, not like these garage companies that you see now, but, real manufacturers that were selling bikes in bike shops, and the BMX boom had started. So good timing on that side.
I didn't realize that Huffy was one of your first sponsors. For some reason, I thought they were further down the line.
Well, they were the real true factory sponsor. And okay, that just means that mom and dad weren't spending any more money, and I was getting a small salary to cover my expenses. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
A gas money, or go to the bike shop and get whatever you needed. But having an ATM card at the age of 14 was pretty cool.
I would imagine. Yeah. I think those days are long gone as well, right?
Yeah. I don't know what the amateurs are doing and what pros are making nowadays. So yeah, I'm just glad I was part of the era.
Right. Did you win any pro titles after that first one in your rookie year?
No, I was top 5 for a while. I was 4 and 5. And one year was 6. But I was only a pro from 88, and then in 93 I crossed over. So
that's what we're getting to. Exactly. Okay.
So, I really didn't have a lot of time, but even when I crossed over, I still had a top 5 plate, which I was proud of, even though I took off, for the summer.
Right. What was the influence behind switching over to mountain bikes? I mean, other than the financial gains, because I know they were getting paid a crap ton more than BMXers.
Well, you said the magic word, money, right? So true story. I was at the Interbike trade show in 1992 in Long Beach. No, I'm sorry, in Anaheim. And there was a lot of talk of this guy that won the mountain bike world championships. And it was Dave Cullinan. And BC Dave. And I love Dave, but man, there was rumors that he signed with Diamondback for 6 figures. And I was like, wow, all right, what's this mountain bike all about? And then, I started seeing like other names that had raced BMX that were a little older, like Wayne Crosdale. I just, I was like, yeah, let's do a little more research. And then later that year, true story, I was at the Grands in Oklahoma City, and the Pro Spectacular. This was before they had the Race of Champions. Well, actually, it was part of the Race of Champions.
Yep.
They gave out prizes, and I won a GT mountain bike.
Who were you riding for then?
So, at the time in '92, I was on Redline,
and you won a GT bike. That's awesome.
And I won a GT mountain bike. And so in '93, my very first Norba mountain bike race on a downhill was on this GT mountain bike. It was an RTS 1, which is a cross country bike. But needless to say, that year in '93, I rode for Balance for 1 year, and that was through Harry Larry. And we launched the Balance team program, and then later John Purse and Matt Hayden took over. Mm-hmm. But I did the mountain bike thing, went to the first Norba race, which was in Big Bear. Harry came up with me, and actually Eric Roop was with me too. It was pretty cool. And we were all, and I think Greg Hill was there. We were just checking out what this whole Norba thing was about. And I did the downhill race. It was the best time of 2 runs. Basically killed myself, freaked myself out, broke my chain, and I was over it. I was like, I don't know if I can do it. So I didn't even do the second run. But the day before was the dual slalom, and Eric Carter and I got first and second. So Harry said, do you want to continue on the next rounds in Indiana of all places? And I said, well, I don't know if there's going to be a big mountain there, so let's go for it. And we had a mud race, and
mountain in Indiana.
yeah. And I won the dual slalom there, and so that pretty much kind of wrote my whole season out, where I had to contend for the national championship title for the series. And so I did all the Norba races, and I believe I was 7th in the downhill there, 7th or 8th. So I started making some improvements, changed my bike up a little bit. I didn't necessarily need an anodized 150 mil cross country stem on my bike. Did some crazy stuff, super steep head angle, maybe 80 mil of front travel. So yeah, we were downhilling on 27-pound or 25-pound mountain bikes, which is unheard of.
So when did it really pick up for you? Like when because you won a couple of World Cups, didn't you, as well? I mean, I got your
Um,
BMX career. When you got to mountain bike stuff, I kind of lost track of you for a while until you'd show up at, end of the
yeah.
year
So
races.
that rookie year was the year I won the world championships in France. And so I think I finished sixth over. No, I finished eighth in the series in downhill, and I won the dual slalom. And so I made the national team, and we went to France, and that course was amazing. It was probably by far the best downhill course that I'd ever ridden at the time. And keep in mind that was eighth course that I'd ever seen.
What was so good about it?
It had some berms, it had some double jumps. I always enjoyed riding in the mud. It felt more like a outdoor motocross track more than anything.
Okay.
There were a few things that I felt like that I was doing that no one else was doing to kind of, be a little bit faster. I knew in my seeding run, they told me that I was number 3 on the top section. And then I blew out a rear wheel. And so I limped home, but luckily I still, qualified. I had a late start, but yeah, that was.
Hold on a second. You just said something about you're doing things that you felt no one else was doing. You did that in BMX as well. Like I knew who you were when we were young, but I think I really started paying attention to what you were doing was when we were in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure if it was the 82 Grands and I saw it happen or if it was some other time after that. Coming out of the last turn, you would come out of that that right-hand turn, you would straighten up a little bit, hit a roller, and then go to the finish line. I saw you jump off of the berm and over the roller, like cutting the corner. And that was the first time I ever saw you do something and started thinking, oh my God, that's a line that I never would have thought of. Like
The hop jump.
And yeah, it was a double off of a berm. And I never saw it, right? I that was way beyond my skill set and way beyond my level at that point. But when I saw you do it, I was like, whoa, I got to start watching this guy more often because that was special. So that started for you a while ago.
Yeah, the 80s.
Yeah, no kidding, right? No kidding. Like it's, I guess, always looking for that advantage to be a little bit faster to get to the finish line first, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to, it's like any craft. If you take seriously and you look and you watch and you learn. I learned that just from having an older brother. But when guys are on top and you pay attention, right? Like I used to always admire Terry T, because he would always go faster in the summer. It was really bizarre, and he wouldn't even practice. He would just sit next to the gate and watch all of us practice. And he'd do races and he'd win all of them. And then we'd be like, damn, we just got beat down by Terry T, and he probably didn't even break a sweat. But it's the same mentality, watch and learn. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Terry was a special guy. That's for sure. You guys had some good battles. I didn't miss too many of those when you guys were on the track. That was entertaining to watch. So when you get over to mountain bikes, and you're clearly Eddie's not racing mountain bikes, who are you watching on the mountain bike side of things to start figuring out these different lines to take on a wide open course?
Eric Carter, Brian Lopes, those two guys were definitely the ones on, if we were doing slalom, dual, four cross. I mean, those are the guys, that they got it. They had the skill set, and you were always watching them. On the downhill side, it was my teammate on GT, was Nicholas Vuyo, right? Crazy. There was a Chris Kravorik who kind of brought flat pedals into the downhill world. And, those two guys were definitely guys that you would pay attention to if you saw them and when they were riding. Miles Rockwell. I mean, I could go on and on a lot of guys. And you know who's going good and who's not, and who's kind of like the one race wonder. But yeah, those were the guys that I considered, that could win at any moment.
So you were saying that he introduced flat pedals into the downhill world.
Well,
What were you?
I, I,
What were you?
I should correct myself. I don't think he introduced it. He was one of the very few that whooped our tails, right? In flat pedals, like beating us by 10 seconds, 12 seconds. And yeah, Kavorik was definitely, he was a bad dude.
What was the difference though? What would make him so much faster on flats versus you guys that were clipped in?
That's a great question. Sam Hill's the same, who followed in his footsteps. He was the same way. It's a mentality. It really is. Some people can't do it. It took me a while to learn how to clip in. And then, when we had those sketchy rain races with roots and rocks and, barely any suspension, I would go back and forth a little bit. But, Kavorik, Sam Hill, those guys, they really, they raised the bar. And, yeah.
So if we're staying on pedals for a second, we have to talk about the introduction to clipless pedals to the world of BMX. Into the world of BMX. Welcome, Clips. A couple of people say it was Brian Lopes. Some people think it was you. Who was the first one to clip in on a BMX bike and race as a pro?
Well, I can tell you the exact story. So it was 1994 in Burbank for the Fall Nationals, and the ABA had put on a time trial. And there was, I think $1,000 for first, and it, they paid, I think, top 5. I don't even remember. But so Brian and I went to dinner on Friday night, and we were like, man, we should get our mountain bike pedals and shoes. But they were at home. So we were already in Burbank. But our at the time, the women we were dating came and wanted to watch us race. So they ended up bringing our pedals and shoes, and we did the time trial. And in fact, we got first and second. So,
Burbank flat starting hill too, right? Just on the ground, basically. Yeah. Okay.
One of those, it was in the equestrian center, right?
Yes.
Rodeo National.
There.
And and I remember later that month or the next month we went to Oklahoma City, and I just kept them on, and I had already gotten used to it. I didn't have any issues with having my foot stuck and things like that ever appeared. I remember the last turn was pretty bumpy, and some of the guys were, rolling their pedals, and I didn't have any problems. I just would pedal the whole turn. But that's how it started, and then they would see next year. At that time, I'm already on GT, so I would start the year off pretty strong. I'd have a bunch of, top 3 scores, mainly because I was on a fitness program getting ready for summer on my mountain bike. So if you had the skill set and you already were, I was racing cruiser, I was racing, pro open, AA, I was ready to do a 4th class because I was in great shape, physical shape. And it didn't matter what the track was because I was clipped in. I didn't have any problems. And then I think what really changed, I remember one year I came back, I think it was in 94, maybe the start of 95, but Christophe Levesque clipped in. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think that's when more and more pros started doing it.
Well, he was one of the last ones, dude. He didn't want to do it at all.
Okay, because I winning and he was whooping us and he was clipped in. And I started seeing other guys clip in right around 95, 96.
Danny Nelson put it in perspective. He said, yeah, when all the V8s started clipping in, that's when I figured I'd better do it.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, yeah, why not?
I wouldn't consider myself a V8, but there were a few.
I thought it was a really good analogy. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point for sure.
Danny, I think if you were in the 200-pound club, or I think Danny was 190. If you were 190 and above, you were in the
Yeah.
V8 club.
Close enough. Yeah, exactly. There's got to be some kind of parameters for sure. So when you are getting through with your mountain bike career, you once told me that you were done with bikes. Like you got out and you got away from it for a long time, but then you made it back into being the coach. And I'm not even sure how you got there. So I want you to tell me about that for USA Cycling BMX. And we're in charge of getting everyone to the into the Olympics, right?
Yeah. So I think I was done BMX racing as a double A in 2000. And so then I was running the Haro Lee Dungaree's mountain bike team and doing 4-cross and dual and helping with the cross country guys. And, when I got to 2004, that was pretty much the year my contract expired. And I was kind of over it. I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is what I want to do. So in 2005, I did a very limited schedule. I did 3 King of the Mountain Jeep series, and I did the Worlds. And then after Worlds, like I already knew that was my last race, and I didn't make a big thing about it. I was just kind of over it. I had felt like I had done everything, and I had raced everywhere, and was just really curious to know what the next chapter would be. And then I got recruited a couple months later by USA Cycling. I mean, we all knew the BMX was going to go into the Beijing Olympics in 2008. My mountain bike team manager at the time, Doug Martin, was hired as a consultant, and he obviously, threw my name in the hat. And next thing I know, I'm fully employed as a employee of USA Cycling to run the BMX racing program for Team USA. And then, my next big project was really trying to figure out where we were going to build the next, Supercross track. And I just happened to live in the same city that the Olympic Training Center down in Chula Vista was located. And we just, we made that happen. And then that's when things really started to take off. So I was really proud to be involved in the first permanent Supercross track out in Chula Vista. And, we had housing and meals. And so we could, in a sense, bring in our Olympic athletes, our long team riders, and, work on their skills. And really, it was a 24/7 deal where they could live on site, eat, sleep, and train. And, live the dream, right?
When you said work on their skills, did you find that there was a direct correlation to what you did as an athlete to what they're now doing, considering the tracks are drastically different?
That's a great question. I don't know if I can answer that, because I'm not, I'd have to be in the moment with those guys. I mean, it seems like these guys train pretty hard because they're all over social media, whether they're doing squats or sprints, right? Yeah, sure, we did some of that stuff, but I also seem to feel like the pros in the 80s and 90s, we were a lot tougher, right? It seems like everyone's just clicks, and if in my era, like if you got cut off or you got, you would hear about it, right? And maybe there'd be a fight. I'm being real. Like there were people that I just was like, man, really? I don't see that. I don't see a rivalry. That is it. I do not see any rivalries in BMX racing. Like, I'm not about, going to blows with anybody. That's not cool. But at least, racing is racing. And I'm not sure if the new era is out there willing to put it all out. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I don't know. I think with the way the tracks were back when we were doing it, they were much smaller. The turns were smaller. You didn't have as many lines through the corners. and there was definitely more contact. It was part of the deal. You got hit. You expected it. If you made a mistake going into the turn, if Charles was on your inside, Charles was going to put an elbow in your hip, no matter what. I mean, that's how
Yeah,
it
but
was.
if I cut Greg Hill off, he's going to let me know about it, right?
For sure. Yeah.
And if people are getting cut off, man, they're just going to go back to their iPad and review it. They're not going to get to the other guy and be like, if you do that again, I'm going to do this to you.
Right. See, I never said anything back to people. I would cut people off up lips. Like Greg Hill once told me, he's like, dude, you never cut anyone off. And I was like, I did. I would subtly, and I would pick my spot, but I'd cut people off going up a lip because I'm like, you know what? If you're going to do this to me, I'm going to really put it back to you. It's part of the deal.
As crazy as it sounds, like I would respect that person more if they got into my face and said, dude, don't ever do that again. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, maybe that's just me being super competitive, right? maybe I'm one of you because I have a brother who's 5 years older who pounded me pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. My brother did the same thing as well. I didn't have a choice but to toughen up pretty quick. Otherwise, and he was 8 years older than me, so there's no choice.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for older brothers, I guess.
Yeah.
So tell me about the transition out to South Carolina from San Diego, and now you're running one of the best supercross BMX tracks in the world.
Yeah. So after the London Olympics, I was.
Wait, hold on. Back up. You had a lot to do with the training program as well for USA Cycling. So when people get certified to be a BMX coach, you once told me you had a lot to do with that whole program being written and how it was written out.
Yeah, we were trying to install a coaching criteria, because at the time no one was really coaching BMX. It was, we were just winging it. And I think once you get to the Olympic level, there's some sports science involved, and we were able to create something and really identify who understood that. I mean, obviously guys like Greg Romero, Sean White, great coaches, right? And so that was something that I felt like I was really, really proud to be a part of and learn from the sports physiology side on, especially like things like recovery. And, we were traveling all over the world, right? So, we were learning about jet lag. We had a lot of resources, tons of resources as an Olympic sport. So those were things that were really important. And then, so anyway, getting back to how it all kind of transpired to being out here in South Carolina, we had a great run the first year in 2008. And then, the first thing was, we got to develop the next set of riders. So we actually, and as crazy as it sounds, they're still in the program. And it's Connor, Corbin, Elise, right? And, now Brooke's probably one of the first that's kind of going to walk away. I think this is her last year, but, we had to develop riders. And going into London, it was rough. It was really rough. I mean, bringing in, 5 riders that had never been to the Olympic Games. And, that first Olympic experience is, everyone tells us it's rough, but when you go back the second or third time, it's a cakewalk, and you know what to expect, and you can perform at a high level. And, we're seeing that. But after 2012, I was kind of done with that. 2013, I did some contract work with UCI and USA BMX, and really just took the year off, which was amazing because I needed to take care of myself and my health and shed some weight. And an opportunity came for me to run this facility out here, out in Rock Hill. And funny story, I'd actually been out here with USA Cycling because they invited us out here to see the project. And so I kind of knew what I was getting into. I also knew that I always loved coming to the South, as crazy as that sounds. Like, whether it was a national in Florida, Tennessee, Georgia. I always use the Hatfields as a great, story piece on Southern hospitality and respect and how they treat people. And that always really stuck with me as a young kid. And so, yeah, my wife, Carrie, and I and the kids were like, yeah, this is a great opportunity. Let's go on this adventure. Because, the kids were still young enough to where it wouldn't really affect them. But yeah, I've been here over 7 years now, and I love it, man. I love the change of seasons. I love the hospitality, the quality of life, the cost of living. I mean, you name it. So it's been good.
Yeah, the cost of living is a real kicker. That one's pretty ridiculous to me still.
Yeah, I get a lot of people asking me, man, do you miss California? And no, I really don't. I thought when I went back a few years ago on the plane ride back out here, like I was sitting with my wife and I just looked at her and I said, what do you think? You gonna miss it? And she's like, no, I just can't wait to get home. And that's when I realized, yeah, we're not going anywhere, and this adventure's, gonna probably come to a halt. So yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're very glad to have you there with your pedigree, the people that I'm sure that has definitely helped bring some of the events to Rock Hill. You're a catalyst for the World Championships being there and so many major nationals and big things. Like that's you've got to be very proud about that.
Bringing the World Championships here in 2017 was, yeah, I mean, it had been in the U.S. in 16 years, right? And so being a part of that team, and I definitely had a small part to it, but our entire city embraced the event. I mean, it was the largest international sporting event in the state's history. So when you put that with an economic impact of over 20, nearly 20 million, it makes you feel good. And, as soon as it was over, we were glad, and we probably never wanted to see the event again. But 2 years later, we put in another bid, and we're going to do it all over again and try to do a better job and really try to knock the socks off of this whole.
When's it coming back?
It'll be at the end of May 2024. So
you better get to work, huh?
Oh yeah, the committee's already in place, and we've already so we're meeting, and yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I'll try to make it to that one.
Yeah, that'd be good, Craig. It'd be good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, no, I'll take some of the blame for it. Well, listen, man, I know you're a busy man, and it's hard to tie you down. I'm sure you've got to go get on the trainer or go do another 80-mile ride or something along those lines. Thank you for your time today. I love hearing the backstory of the things that you did and done in your path to where you are now.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, yeah, I'm always down to do a podcast. So, but more importantly, I'm down to go riding with you. When are we going riding?
Look, I'm telling you, I'm a lot better. My leg's better. I'm good. Like, I'm going to need you to go on a ride when it's like a recovery day, though. You're too fast for me, dude. That's the problem. So we don't ride together. We start out together, and then you take off, and then I've got to find my way back. So if we ride on a loop, I'm good, because then I know how to get back.
All right. Well, we have a loop right out here on the creek course. So.
All right, cool. I'll come down one day and we'll do a lunch ride or something. But I said, we'll start, and you'll lap me, and I'll try to hang on for a minute, and then it'll be my own personal intervals.
All right. Good enough.
Well, listen, if you guys like what you're seeing, please make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, subscribe there. Mikey King, ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest of all time, and still one of the coolest dudes around. Enjoy the rest of your day. Mike, thanks a bunch, man. I'll talk with you soon.
All right. Thank you, Craig.